Hello and welcome. If you've got an international marketing exam on the horizon, then you are in exactly the right place. We're going to break down everything you need to know, the frameworks, the examples, the whole shebang, so you can walk into that exam feeling confident. Let's get started.
So first, let's kick things off with a little puzzle that really gets to the core of what we're talking about today. Why does a company like Apple, a global giant, design its products in California, but sell an iPhone for a completely different price in India than it does in the US? The answer to that? Well, that's what international marketing is all about. Okay, here's our game plan for this session. We'll start with the basics. What even is international marketing? Then we'll dig into why companies do it. After that, we'll walk through the step-by-step process of how they do it. And finally, we'll look at the different ways a company can actually enter a new country. It's the perfect structure for your exam answers, by the way. All right, let's start at square one. You can't ace a question on something if you can't define it, right? So let's nail this down. What exactly is international marketing? So the textbook definition, and you should know this, is that it's all about applying those marketing principles you already know, but doing it across national borders. We're still talking about product, price, place, and promotion. The goal is still the same, satisfy customers and hit company targets. The huge difference, the real challenge, is the massively complex new environment you're playing in. And this table right here, it shows you that jump in complexity perfectly. When you're at home, in domestic marketing, it's one country, one currency, a culture you understand, and one set of rules. Simple enough. But the second you go international, boom, you're juggling multiple currencies, wildly different cultures, competitors from all over the world, and this tangled web of different laws. And you can see the risk level just skyrockets. Now, for a really solid exam answer, you need to know what makes international marketing so unique. I want you to memorize this list of 10 features. Seriously, it's about working across borders, dealing with fluctuating currencies, trying to understand different cultures, worrying about political risks, and on top of all that, facing fierce global competition. Each one of these things adds another layer of difficulty and means you have to be incredibly strategic. And this is the perfect example to bring that point about culture to life. Think about it. McDonald's can't just sell its classic Big Mac everywhere. In India, where cows are sacred, that would be a disaster. So what did they do? They created the Maharata Mac, made with chicken. This isn't just tweaking the menu. It's a fundamental change to their business to respect a local culture. Drop that example in your exam, it's a winner. So we've nailed down what it is. The next logical question your exam will ask is why? Why do companies bother with all that extra risk and complexity? What are the big forces, the drivers, that are pushing and pulling businesses into the global market? Understanding this is absolutely critical. Here they are, the 10 major drivers. Now, for your exam, it really helps to group these in your head. First, you've got these big picture forces like globalization and trade liberalization. Think organizations like the WTO making it easier to trade. Then you've got technology making it possible, like the internet. And finally, there are the company-level reasons, intense competition at home or the growth of foreign direct investment, or FDI. Okay, I know 10 is a lot to remember, especially under exam pressure. So for a really sharp and powerful answer, focus on these top 3. Just think, technology made it possible to reach customers anywhere, trade liberalization made it easier by lowering barriers, and good old competitive pressure made it necessary to survive and grow. If you can explain those 3 inside and out, you are well on your way to a great grade. Okay, so a company has made the big decision. They're going global. What happens next? They can't just pack their bags and show up. No way. There is a methodical step-by-step process they have to follow to have any chance of success. This is their strategic playbook. In this 10-step process you see here, this is the absolute backbone of any international marketing plan. And it's logical, right? You start broad with a big analysis, then you do your research on specific markets, you pick the best one, figure out how you're going to get in, adapt your products, plan the budget, and then you actually do it and keep an eye on it. This sequence is so important to remember for your exam. Let's make this real with a great example. IKEA going into India. They didn't just guess. They spent years on market research. That's step 2, actually visiting people's homes to see how they lived. Based on that research, they selected India. That's step 3. And then they adapted their marketing mix. Step 6, they offered services to assemble the furniture and designed smaller pieces that would fit in smaller Indian homes. It's a perfect real-world application of the process. Okay, we've now reached one of the biggest decisions a company has to make, the mode of entry. How, exactly, do you set up shop in a new country? The choice they make here is going to dictate their risk, their level of control, and their potential profit for years. There's no one-size-fits-all answer here. It's always a strategic trade-off. Let's look at the main options.
This table is absolute gold for your exam prep. It lays out the trade-offs so clearly. Just look at exporting on the left. Super low risk, low investment, but you get very little control. Then jump all the way to the other end. A wholly owned subsidiary gives you total control, but man, it comes with the highest risk and a massive financial investment. The right choice really depends on what the company can afford and what its goals are.
Now, beyond those main four, there are a few other modes you definitely need to know. You've got franchising, think Subway or KFC, where you license your whole business blueprint. Mergers and acquisitions, or M&A, is where you buy a local company for a fast-track entry. Strategic alliances are just partnerships to work together on something specific. There's also contract manufacturing, turnkey projects, and management contracts. Just be familiar with what each one means.
And when you're in that exam and you need a killer example for a joint venture, this is the one. Maruti Suzuki. It's a classic. Suzuki from Japan brought the awesome technology and car-making know-how. Maruti from India brought the local market knowledge and the government connections. What happened? They completely dominated the Indian car market for decades. It's the perfect story of shared risk, shared reward, and incredible success.
All right, we have covered a ton of ground. Now let's make sure it sticks. It's time for a rapid-fire revision round to help you structure all this in your head so it's ready to go on exam day. You ready?
First up, the 10 features. Let's lock these in. Think about it in chunks. You've got the operational stuff, cross-border, forex, and channels. Then the big environmental factors, culture, politics, and legal. And finally, the strategic things, competition, research, risk, and strategy. Got it? Next, those 10 drivers. Remember the groups. The huge macro forces, globalization, trade liberalization, and regional agreements. The things that make it possible, the enablers, tech, transport, and digital. And the market factors, the growth of MNCs, rising global income, competition, and FDI.
And the 10-step process. Remember it in 3 phases. Phase 1 is all your homework: analysis, research, selection, and segmentation. Phase 2 is making the move, choosing your entry mode, adapting your marketing mix, and setting the budget. And Phase 3 is making it happen: implementation, monitoring, and control. And finally, the entry modes. Just think of it as a ladder of commitment. You start on the bottom rung with exporting. Then you move up to contracts like licensing and franchising. A step higher is partnerships like joint ventures. And at the very top, you have the highest commitment with M&A and wholly owned subsidiaries.
So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Pick a big global brand that isn't in your country yet. Based on everything we've just talked about, the risks, the culture, the competition, which entry mode would you recommend for them? And more importantly, why? Being able to apply these frameworks is how you truly master this subject. Good luck with your studies. You've got this.